just a love machine. I'm just a love machine, and I won't want for nobody but you.
So, Mrs. Green Spoonworm, what brings you into therapy today? You seemed frantic when we spoke on the phone earlier. Well, Dr. Tatiana, there's been a frightful accident. I was happily sitting in my usual spot, the bottom of the seat, when I felt an itch on my nose. Being a green spoonworm, I don't have any arms, and I couldn't scratch. So I sniffled, and I inhaled my husband. I've tried sneezing, but he hasn't reappeared. Is there anything I can do to get him back?
Okay, so listen up, Mrs. Green Spoonworm. I'm going to tell you something, and you're probably not going to like it. Maybe you didn't notice, or maybe you're blind, but hubby over there is like 200,000 times smaller than you. I know you thought it was just a phase, and that he would grow eventually, but you were actually completely wrong. Let me break it down for you like this. It's like a human male being the size of a pencil eraser. Right now your husband is just chilling in your small man room, aka your androecium. Bet you didn't know you had one of those, huh? Where he can sit and fertilize passing eggs in your reproductive tract. Every man's dream, right? But before you get all pissy, calm yourself, because this could have been you. Did you know that when a green spoonworm is first born, it has no sex? Well, it's true. In fact, your sex is actually determined by uncontrollable events. If in the first few days of being you encounter a female, then you become a man. Unlike the human race, where it takes years to become a man and some never reach full maturity. But if the larva never meets a female, then it shoots straight into womanhood and all the joys that come with it. Usually, sex is determined by genetic or environmental factors, but within these categories, there are many variations. For example, one of the most common ways sex is decided is by special chromosomes. Among mammals, males have an X and a Y chromosome, and females have two X chromosomes. However, for birds, the situation is reversed. Males have two Z chromosomes and females have one Z and one W. Fruit flies have XY males and butterflies have ZW females. Lizards get freaky with it by swinging both ways. Ha 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 ha. Some species have ZW females while others have XY males. Confused? There are even more genetic factors that can give you a mindfuck of epic proportions, like males hatching from unfertilized eggs or horribly complicated interactions of different genes. But let's move on to environmental factors. For alligators, sex is determined by the temperature at which they store their eggs.
Rain, wind, storm, hot, cold, cool, warm. What's the weather? It's cloudy. What's the weather? It's windy altogether. That's the weather.
Instead of blue for male and pink for female, it's warm sand for boys and cool sand for girls. Snapping turtles and crocodiles get even weirder. Eggs buried in cold or hot sand produce girls. But if the sand is warm, then watch out because it's a sausage fest. And if that's not enough to boggle your little spoon mind, then get a load of this. For some animals, sex is determined by social circumstance, meaning they change sexes. How would you like to be like the Capitella worm, which makes its home in sewer sludge and changes from male to a hermaphrodite if it doesn't encounter a female within a certain period of time? Or perhaps you would prefer to be the Crepidula fornicata and oysterbed pets. They all start as males, but if they find themselves alone for long enough, they become females and start attracting mates. Even more exotic, if this isn't crazy enough for you already, is the marine worm Ophriotracha pyrrhulis. If two females find themselves alone together, and one thing leads to another, ha ha ha, just kidding, the smaller of the two becomes a male. But because females grow at a slower pace, the male will soon become the larger one of the pair. At this point, shazam! Both individuals change sex. This process happens repeatedly. In the end, though, a pair that have been together for a long time end up turning into hermaphrodites. Obviously an enviable life. So after all this, let's get back to you. You take quite a gamble being a female green spoonworm in today's society. You need 2 years to mature, during which time you could be eaten by a bat ray. Even if you survive that, you may never find a mate and will be alone forever. Can you say crazy cat lady? So, it makes more sense to become a male and get snuffled because not only are you guaranteed a mate, but you can begin reproducing as soon as you become a full man. So what is it about you that makes a larva want to be a man, you ask? Well, to put it simply, it's your lovely bulbous body, but particularly your long, twitchy proboscis, which secretes a substance known as boneland. A whiff of that shit will make any larva stand up and fly it right. But I know what you're really here for. You want to know why your man candy has been reduced to the size of a testicle. Well, there are two factors. The first is that females are sedentary, and the second is that they are sparsely sprinkled across the landscape. Essentially, they are lazy and hard to find. Having a smaller body allows males to mature faster and move quickly in order to find a mate. But don't fret, there are other animals worse off than you. Look at the anglerfish, a monster that lives in the coldest, deepest seas. The formidable females don't swim much, but rather float around in the darkness waiting for their prey. They swallow their victims whole, engulfed by a toothy mouth and grossly descendable stomachs. Like your hubby, male anglerfish are minute but have a huge nose in portion to their body. They follow their nose to the female, and upon meeting one, bite into her black underbelly and fuse with her body, becoming a permanent appendage resembling a pair of gonads. Well, actually, upon further consideration, I think I would prefer that to a life sentence in your small man room. But hey, at least you understand everything now. Well, that's the end of our session. See you next week!